Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another movie episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's in a really ugly Detroit with me tonight?
First, a quick impression for you. Call, bang, fuck up Ken. Hey, everybody, it's Kenneth Sanity.
I'm Joe Butler, and wow, this movie sure hits every edgelord spot that I'm in.
And I'm Bill Tucker from A Gamer Looks at 40, and I am really fired up to be on this podcast today.
That was good. And we are here to talk about a cult classic. I think this movie's considered a cult classic, but this is a Patreon voted, so you guys chose us to watch this movie. The Crow, directed by Alex Proyas, and came out in 1994.
Oh, boy.
Never saw it. I knew I never saw it, but the more I watched, I really never saw any of it before.
Wow.
Well, you know, you've seen one 90s superhero movie. You've kind of seen all of them, and this kind of hits every single bingo mark that wasn't even on the bingo board.
I have never wanted to reach through the microphone and slap you as hard as I do right now.
Speaking of slapping me, this also does a whole thing where I'm the baby of the group usually, and am now currently. I was born in 93, but this is like, y'all are a little bit older than me. You know, Bill has his Gamer Looks at 40, so I mean, obviously there's that. This was like peak goth subculture, right? Like, Donnie Darko. I'm honestly surprised Spawn doesn't have a katana fight at the end of the movie. Blade.
I am so upset right now.
Am I missing something? I feel like I'm missing something. I'm missing another goth movie. Edward Scissorhands.
That's not an action movie. That's just a weird-ass movie.
Yeah, but it's a goth movie all the same.
Yes, okay. Fair.
Yes, if they sold it in Hot Topic, yes, I see. I understand. I see the aesthetic you're going for, Joe. I see.
Yeah.
Ken, maybe this will help you. I've seen this movie a couple of times, and I think I own it, actually. It's one of those, you know, I think I was dating somebody at the time. It was like, oh, we got to watch The Crow, and I probably went, oh, okay. Then I saw it and was like, oh, okay. Well, Ken, let me. I think I'm going to help you with this one. I really like this. I actually liked it a lot better this time than I did in previous viewings for some weird reason. And I've been trying to rack my brain today, trying to figure out why I like this so much. And I think I've hit upon a few things. I'm curious what your take is. I like this a lot more than I thought I was going to.
I've liked this movie since I saw it in theaters.
Of course you did.
Well, as the resident goth, yeah.
Yes.
Of course I did. This movie celebrates its 30th anniversary in May as my bones turn to dust and my skin turns to leather.
Hey, good timing for someone that did not plan this whatsoever with that idea. So cool. All right.
And like watching this movie again, it feels like a nice warm leather glove that just fits. It's a comfort movie for me.
So do you also have a mask and a red jewel and a bag of sand too to go with this movie for you?
No.
Okay.
No, but this is very much like right in the vein of Neil Gaiman's Sandman.
Yeah.
James O'Barr is a fan of Sandman. James O'Barr wrote and drew the comic book that the movie is based on. And comic book is pretty different, but still roughly the same.
I didn't know this was originally a comic until we just started watching it.
I didn't know it was until I was Googling stuff when I put this Patreon poll together a month ago. So don't feel too bad.
Another accidental comic movie right up there with Two Guns.
And Ken, what is the plot of this movie?
So the plot of this movie is Detroit. This is the most Detroit-ass movie that is ever Detroited, in my opinion.
Yes.
Brandon Lee plays musician Eric Draven, who is resurrected from the dead to seek vengeance against the gang who murdered him and his fiancée on the night before Halloween, Devil's Night.
But Ken, that's also like 90% of the plot for Spawn and every other 80s superhero comic.
Okay, look. Look,
So what you do, Ken, is you get on a train, you go straight down to Missouri. I know he's somewhere in the Missouri, Kansas City area. You start looking for a guy with glasses. Get ready to slap him.
Just start knocking on doors. Just knocking on doors. Get your little telepathic crow friend to fly around for you. Second set of eyes.
I'll just pull on my Deadpool mask and start screaming, "Where's Joe?"
It'll figure it out.
The comic book came out in 1989. Spawn wishes it had that longevity.
Spawn's
Like-
still around, unfortunately.
Yes, Spawn is still around. It keeps going for some reason. And I think you can say that Spawn probably took the Avenging Angel from books like this. Let's be honest, the Avenging Angel trope is something that has been around media for a long, long time. Like, The Crow was not the first one to do it. Obviously, it wasn't the last one to do it. We have a new Crow movie coming out this year.
Which is also weird to say. I did not know that. I had no idea that they were making a reboot in the series or making a movie again. Like, no idea.
Jason Momoa is the Crow.
Nope.
No, he
No,
was going to be
done.
the Crow, then he backed out of it at one point. But back when he was going to do it was before he did Aquaman.
Now it's Bill Skarsgård.
Oh,
Okay.
fuck me. Goddamn, that's
Another
Gonna-
skinny, creepy boy.
yeah, that's gonna awaken things back inside of me. Okay.
He's a good actor. Nobody, I mean, so like this movie, like I had no expectations. I was like, okay, I know people have talked about this. I don't understand how I've never seen it because I'm not really a goth guy. Except over the years, I've realized that that's there. But I just somehow I never seen this, and I was watching this. I'm like, this movie is not bad. Don't have any idea what's going on at first, but the movie's not bad.
Well, that's the fun thing because it starts in the aftermath immediately after the murder. And the one thing that I really like that was added to the movie after test screenings is the voiceover.
Oh,
This is like one of the few times that the voiceover, I think, actually makes the movie better.
yeah, it does.
Makes it feel more like somebody's reading you a fairy tale.
Also, I was surprised how much cut content is in this movie. Reading all the stuff on IMDb, because holy shit did they backpedal on a lot of choices, and I'm glad they did.
Yeah, they made some smart choices in the editing
Yeah.
room in this one for sure.
They
And Ken-
really
Can I say that was of all the film school things you've ever said on this podcast? I think that might be the most film schooliest. How that voiceover actually helps instead of hurts, because I've sat through many a lecture where the professor pontificates how voiceover is lazy filmmaking and should never ever be used. And so I don't know, and I kind of agree with you, Ken. It's very good. But I just wanted to point that out because that came in my brain, and it's 9:00 at night. It's been a day.
That,
Fair
Perfect time to be
enough.
watching perfect time to be talking about The Crow and watching it. I have it on in the background.
the next hot take we're gonna hear is Ken said that the transitioning in the Hulk movie was also really good too, where it's like a comic book.
All right, first off, go back and listen to the Creepshow episode if you haven't. I think comic book transitions are great, but not in the Hulk.
You're talking about the Eric Bana one, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
never seen that either. Like, I was very confused with this movie. Like, when you see him rise from the grave, and all I could think of for some reason, Alter Beast came in my brain when I first saw this. I was like, rise from your grave! But that's
Fair
just
enough.
me, unfortunately. But I was thinking he had some like satanic powers or something like that was what brought him back. Because when you see the apartment a little bit late, throughout this movie, you see candles everywhere and things like that. So I was thinking, like, okay, was it going to be something where that's why he came back from the dead? It wasn't until later on, like when I started watching YouTube, that I figured out, like, okay, the Crow is the thing that has the powers. Oh, and the movie.
Yeah.
I didn't figure out till like the end of the movie that it was all had to do with the Crow. The Crow was the one that resurrected him because he's a vengeful spirit.
All right, it's time for learning stuff with Ken Sanity. So,
Play that bumper, Mike. Let's go. There's got to be a bumper in there somewhere.
I do need to make music somewhere.
Learning stuff with Ken.
Really need the best of music.
so the Crow and ravens for centuries have long been thought to be what are called psychopomps, messengers of the realm of the dead. And for a crow to be carrying a soul back to the world of the living makes absolute perfect sense in folklore tradition. So it's not off. It's just not satanic. It's just a little dark. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
people
no,
being so dark.
that was my first impression was satanic. But as I watched the movie and realized it wasn't that. That was just my first, and that's unfortunately my brain being stupid and seeing candles and seeing stuff like that, and some of like the way things are going on early in this. That's what went in my brain.
And we grow, we learn.
So I realized more of what was going on because I think it's during some of the flashbacks you see people looking at like and it looked like they were looking like satanic book stuff. I just thought that's what the movie was going for, but it's not.
Yeah. Like one of the books that is referenced in this movie quite a bit is Paradise Lost by John Milton. A great book if you haven't read it, but it's a story of Satan falling and, like it's a story about Satan, but it's not satanic. Milton was actually very religious. So it's one of those weird things where, there are elements of Satan involved, but it's more like a dark beauty Satan. Like Satan in Milton is hot as fuck.
And like when I was watching this movie because of Bill and Ken, I was thinking about all the shots. Like I really appreciate the filming in this movie too. And that's something that you guys have definitely changed about me. So I like to bring it up when it does happen in movies.
And this movie really is, that I will say is the one thing that probably dates this movie the most. Like it's not badly shot, it's just 90s shot and you can tell.
Oh yeah. I mean it was fine. I actually enjoyed the 90s shot, surprisingly. Like that's the way it felt very 90s to me. It was kind of comforting.
Like a warm leather glove.
I think one of the things I really do like about this movie is that it is made so carefully because they had very little resources to make this. This is an indie movie through and through. They did not have a huge budget for this. I don't remember exactly. What was 23 million. Actually, that's more budget than I thought of it. All right, never mind. Miramax had to put in a lot of money after the fact. Like they had to pump. People kept pumping money into this movie over and over and over again. The story of this movie's creation is actually very interesting. And of course, I don't know if we should just take the time now to talk about the big story of the making of this movie, which is the death of the lead actor.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, you kind of have to, unfortunately.
I think might as well hit on the death of Brandon Lee, who died during the production of this movie in a very bizarre, tragic way. But before I get into that, I just want to finish my thought and say that this is a very carefully made movie. And this is a movie made with a ton of love and care and craft. And I think that's why I really dug it this time around. It's silly. It's got some corny stuff and it's cliche, and yes, it's full of 90s edgelord hot topicness, but there is a beating heart in this movie that is not present in a lot of comic book movies of the day and since. Really, there is an underpinning of care, if that makes any sense at all. I don't feel like I'm making, but there's that, and that really for me works way more than I think I did in my last viewing, which was probably a decade ago at this point. But Brandon Lee, the star of this movie, was tragically killed on set through what could only be called a freak accident. As the story goes, there is a scene in the movie business when they're doing close-ups of guns. They'll often use real bullets with primer powder in them to get the big bang effect, but there's no gunpowder in the bullet. So the bullet doesn't go anywhere. It's just the primer bullet to the big shot and the big bang, and then the bullet just moves 2 inches. That's what happened when they were shooting up close-ups. A week or so later, they have the same gun, and they're going to use that same gun in the shootout scene and fill it with blanks. But the person who was the gun tech had left early that day. So it was just a regular prop tech going through the guns, and they did not do the customary check to make sure there was nothing in the weapon before they loaded with blanks. And even though a blank has no bullets, it's just a cartridge. It is primer and powder with no actual thing to fire, hence blank. So you have a projectile in the barrel and a cap and a bullet full of powder. Put those two things together, and you basically have a 44 Magnum slug going at you when you do expect to be nothing. Yeah. And it caught him in the abdomen, and he died. I don't think he even made it to the hospital, to be honest.
He made it to the hospital, then he died in the hospital.
He died in the hospital, okay. And to talk about just a freak accident, it's incredibly tragic. And I think even if you don't know that, this movie still works. But having that layer upon it, because Brandon Lee is exceptionally good in this, just beyond his posthumous passing and beyond the passing and everything else, he's very, very good in this. I think it just adds another layer to what happened here. And obviously it's very tragic, and super sad because this was going to be his breakout role, I think.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, it was he did not survive to see it released. So
That's
That
sad.
I think is the biggest thing you can take away from this movie and watching it and seeing just how magnetic Brandon Lee is during this movie. Like, he's done other movies, but this one he's just amazing in. He draws you in. He's fun. He's funny. He's sad. A lot more than you would expect from Bruce Lee's son, but
Yeah.
you know, he was an accomplished martial artist, and you can tell with the way he moves.
He was really good in this role. Like, I've never seen him in any other movies. I didn't even know he did like 7. I think this is the 7th or 8th movie that he did. Like, he had other stuff, and I never seen anything with him in it. I'm like, this is like, he did a really good job in this film.
Yeah, you should watch Rapid Fire. That's a good one.
Okay.
I think. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
You can go ahead real quick.
I was going to say that just Roger Ebert famously said that not only was this Brandon Lee's best movie, it was better than anything his father had ever done. And I think that speaks a lot. That says a lot.
In terms of overall quality, probably, but there are some days I'd be like, I don't know if I could put this up against Enter the Dragon or Game of Death.
I mean, listen, take it for what you will. I mean, but yeah.
One thing that I found that was interesting, and I actually was on the same page as Bill, but I was reading IMDb while I was watching the movie. Because like I said, I was skimming through it because I watched it earlier this week. He didn't die at the shootout scene. He got hit on the side on the scene with where he's interrogating Fun Boy with the mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that actor actually refuses to act anymore.
Refused.
No,
he took a year off.
Yeah.
He took a year off.
But
He was still in things like Amazing Spider-Man 2
yeah.
and
It
The
fu-
Blacklist.
It fucked him up though, but I think a lot of like that gun stuff, like watching that now, and I think a lot of like other stuff too, because we actually had something similar that happened with what's his face, right?
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin. And it's kind of learning that how it's been like almost 30 years, which is also terrifying to think about. But 30 years and we still haven't fucking learned our lesson not to use real guns on movies.
Just check them. Just make sure. Like, I mean, I don't own a gun. I probably never will because I don't really like guns. But my whole thing is like anytime, like I had a dream not that long ago where like if you have a gun, you just need to practice a few different, safety things. You check your fucking gun.
But here's the weird part. Being an actor, you're not supposed to do that. When you're handed a gun, it's supposed to be a already checked prop.
Well, no, the people that are
yeah.
in charge of it should be checking it. Like, how do you not check the barrel?
Yeah, that's also the other issue too, is that there's way too many people in between the gun going from like the back to like the actor's hands, and it's all kinds of just goofy media bullshit that I've never liked.
And and in the situation of this movie in particular, again, it's such a freak accident because so many things went wrong for this whole thing to go wrong.
Yeah.
If this was a bigger budget movie, if this was a Marvel movie, when the gun tech had to go home early, they probably would have gotten the assistant gun tech or the assistant gun tech, or said, "Hey, let's just shoot this tomorrow." But when you're doing a movie on a shoestring budget, and again, $23 million for an action movie is nothing. Even of that era, even in that era, that's still not a lot to do an action-oriented, effect-driven, stunt-driven movie. They had to get it done, and it was just a mistake from people, and people make mistakes, and unfortunately, sometimes there's tragic consequences. But that's I mean, it makes you think, right? Like how quickly something can go wrong.
And I think that a lot of the reasons why people keep saying it's the last gun scene is because obviously the movie was like, 60-70% done when he died?
More than that.
Yeah.
A lot more than that.
Yeah,
and a
mostly
lot
done.
Yeah, and a lot of people know that the movie wasn't done in general, and I think that's why a lot of people think it's that last gunfight that he dies in, because that's the last real big gunfight that they have. So people think that he died during there, but they shoot movies out of order all the time. A lot of people don't understand that, especially back then. So a lot of it being the rumor that it happened during like the big last gunfight stuck through like a lot of rumors and stuff like that as well.
People are just stupid.
I mean, I'm not stupid there, Mike Albertin, but I mean,
The internet.
Well, no, like people actually like. I know I was watching a thing. They're like, oh yeah, and like, oh, his death scene is in the movie. It's like, of course they didn't put it in the movie. Like, come on now, people.
Yeah,
like,
no.
you can't legally do that, and it becomes a snuff film.
Yes.
It is illegal to release a movie that has a real person dying in it.
Like most of the film, most of the scenes, like in the beginning when Eric comes out of the grave, those are the ones that they had to shoot yet. So like the beginning of the movie and the scenes after he comes back in the apartment, that's all they had left to shoot.
Mm.
So like when Sarah comes in and sees him, when he's walking towards the window with the crow on his shoulder with the Cure playing, most gothy thing ever. Like that is all his stunt double with the face digitally composited over it. And his stunt double was a gentleman by the name of Chad Stahelski, who would go on to direct things like John Wick.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. I didn't. Wow. Okay.
So,
Oh.
like, there's pedigree on this movie.
Okay. I didn't know that one.
There's a lot more to this movie than I expected. Like when I was watching a lot of behind the scenes stuff after we did this episode, just so I could get more knowledgeable. And I was really surprised how much there is to this movie.
I'm still a little upset that the Skull Cowboy stuff got cut, but that's only because I like the comic book.
Oh, I was gonna say I read all the Skull Cowboy stuff. It sounds fucking stupid, but then again, it wouldn't work for the movie. Comic wise, it's probably pretty badass.
Right. Like, I think the movie works better for it, honestly. I do.
I mean, I really like this revenge story idea.
Without it.
I really appreciate like how they just throw in all like this 90s. Is this grunge music or what would this be considered? Just whatever the hell. I just really enjoyed the music that just fit this terrible, ugly looking Detroit.
Okay.
Industrial. Yes. Please, let's go.
Yes, there's a lot of goth, a lot of industrial on here. It music fun times with Ken. Real quick. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Hit that bumper, Mike. Let's go. Come on. Do some work, for Christ's sake. Please.
At my job, we do something called Music League, where we submit songs and have everybody, make a playlist and people vote on the theme. Well, this past week, the theme was Best Emo/Goth Playlist. So I worked with 13 other people to submit the entirety of the Crow soundtrack for that playlist.
I love this so much. I love this so much.
Like, this soundtrack is always in my car. It's always downloaded on my phone. This is the music that I go nuts to. Like, I've gotten to go to like industrial festivals in Chicago, and I watching a band play, I look over and there's the bass player from My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult, who is in the movie. Like, this is very much my world. These are my people.
I can see that.
I was never a huge fan of industrial in this era. I liked some of it. I was a big Nine Inch Nails fan. Still am, do it like a lot of Nine Inch Nails. And it's amazing when I listen to this now. Like half of it just sounds like Nine Inch Nails. I'm not sure who co-opted who. And I'm not really studied on the genre. But boy, oh boy, did this get me down a rabbit hole of industrial music today. And today, as I was just doing things around the house and driving places, boy, oh boy, that whole soundtrack got listened to, of course. Had a little KMFDM on, and I went to a couple other things. It was a little juke joint Jezebel or jukebox Jezebel?
Yep, Juke Joint Jezebel by
KMFDM. Yep, my wife, fun story about that. When she was working in she was in FIT, the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City, where she went to school, got 2 majors in the fashion world. She was directing a runway show, and she had her people come out to jukebox Jezebel.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was because everything she had done for that show was very kind of industrial, and that's what they all came out to.
Nice.
Fun little tidbit.
Well, you do get some Nine Inch Nails in this movie.
You do. It's very good.
Yep.
Okay, I didn't recognize any of the music, but I liked it.
Yep. Nine Inch Nails did Dead Souls for the soundtrack, which is a cover of a Joy Division song. So it doesn't get much more gothy and depressing than Joy Division.
I was a baby when this movie came out, so you might be wondering how I knew about this. So I have an older cousin, probably about Ken's age, who basically at one point when I was 5 went, "Hey, sit down and watch this shit." And it's this and the Lost Boys and fucking Resident Evil. And I asked myself, that's why I'm like this, because I like Shadow the Hedgehog now and all this other stuff.
Oh, that's great.
Oh. I mean, I didn't think a revenge story would really kind of get me, but this movie, I was entertained the entire movie. Like, just the way they did it and how everything goes. Like you really hate the thugs that killed him and his fiance. So when he does come back from the grave, like you're rooting for him 100%.
Oh, yeah.
They make those people just shitheads.
And, it's not just a revenge film. I've heard you say that a couple times. And yes, there is an element to revenge.
I know.
But at the end of the day, this is a romance.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, it really is. Okay, you know what? It's bad language. I'm not a fan of calling these type of movies what I'm about to say, but this is the ultimate chick flick for guys.
Yeah.
All right.
You're not wrong.
I can see that. I can see that for sure.
I can too.
Because this is it's all about this dude that loved his wife so much that he's not going to stop at anything to punish the people who killed her. And he looks cute too.
Mike knows about it. I'm sure Bill knows about it. And I think Ken's complained about it. It's so nice to watch a superhero movie and have them do superhero stuff and not have a fucking reference every 5 minutes. Madam Web, God damn you.
I mean, before you watched it, you didn't even know it's a comic book movie, so it fit. I mean, this is also such a not known comic book. Like, I've known of this movie for years, never knew it was a comic book until a month ago, So it's just, I happened when it's not something from the big two.
We're going to get you down to an industrial music festival, Mike. We'll get you to embrace your goth yet.
It's getting there, making me read Sandman, and I'm starting to realize, Hey, when I was in high school, I had long hair, but I didn't wear black all the time because goth wasn't cool in 2006 in Milwaukee. So that's not where I went to school. That's a whole nother
goth
story.
is always cool.
not where I went to high school in Milwaukee.
A goth outfit would not have matched my checkered Vans and my pork pie hat as a ska kid. That would not. I was not my aesthetic. I did appreciate the music and stuff.
I was a gamer. Still am a gamer. So yeah.
100% believe Bill was a ska kid. That's fucking awesome.
Oh, totally. Are you kidding me? My first podcast was called the Skank and Hepcat Show. Back in 2005, I played ska music because that was my college radio show in college, and I just extended to a podcast back when there was 300 podcasts on Apple. I've been doing this a long damn time, y'all. And I am
wish very 300 nowadays. Oh, but hey,
I am old. When I was back in my day, when I started podcasting, it was like Adam Carolla's show and Joe Rogan and Ricky Gervais. Those are the three big podcasts that anyone knew about. I used to promote my show on MySpace.
Right.
Oh yeah, no, I am a withered husk. I'm a human, and I'm proud to be it. I don't care.
Look, I'm the oldest person on this podcast right now, but Jesus Christ, Grandpa.
You are right though about the love story. And it does a good job of showing you flashbacks. I didn't put two and two together until YouTube told me. Because throughout the movie, you see Eric, the crow, pick up people or touch, he touches a cat and he relives their memory. He sees what they saw, and that's why he kind of tells the event of what happened to him and his fiance. And I did not pick up on that. I was also wondering when I saw the cat for the first time, I was like, who the hell's feeding this cat that's in this abandoned building that has a hole in the wall? Who's feeding him? That's what went through my head.
So one of those things that they apparently wanted to do for the movie is they wanted to have it in black and white, but they wanted the flashbacks to be in color. And they're like, no, the Paramount didn't want to pay for it, and the Miramax didn't want to pay for it. But damn well, if this movie came out today, there'd totally be a black and white version coming out of it.
Well, the fun thing is we'll be able to find out in about 4 months.
Yeah, as of this recording, yeah.
Yeah, the new one comes out in June. So.
Oh shit!
That's
really?
Cool.
Yeah.
If it does well, I could see them doing a black and white cut and releasing on Blu-ray or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But also that wasn't a thing at the time. If you're gonna have a different cut, you're gonna have a whole other VHS tape on your shelf, not just we'll put it as a special feature in the Blu-ray. So.
Well, you can't just make a movie black and white and have it hit the same. If you want the movie to be black and white, you got to shoot it differently. And Sin City proved this really well. I'm talking about the first one.
Yeah, that's.
No, he's still you've never heard that episode, Ken? Oh boy.
No, I didn't. Probably because I didn't want to hear you shit talking a movie I like. But
you will hear that. Yes, you hear a lot of that.
It's me cautiously defending a movie I kind of I loved when it came out. And actually, it was funny as I was watching this. I was thinking, Mike, that was during our MCU series, and
Yep.
Mike wanted us all to pick non-MCU comic book movies, and that's the one I picked. Like, Sin City would be a good one to pick because that is almost an anti-comic book movie that is exactly like the comic. And I had a funny feeling, Mike, and another Mike would not be a fan, but boy, did I not realize how little fans they were, how much they absolutely loathed the entire experience.
I think
So
we
yeah,
need
don't
to
listen to that
recover.
episode, Ken, if you don't want to hear me bitch about it for 2 hours.
I think we need to recover that.
Sure,
I've never-
why not?
I've never seen Sin City and all those
Keep it
other
that way.
movies, and I still haven't watched The Watchmen yet.
I haven't either, by the way.
Same. I've never seen Watchmen, but I've seen Sin City probably 30, 40 times in my life. It was one of those movies I was really, really into. When
I
it
could
came
never watch. I don't want to watch Sin City again. I'm
out.
The Crow. Like, it didn't have any of that for me. It didn't bother me. Like, I mean, this movie's not too brutal, but there's a few good murder scenes and just what he does to people. And like, I could see myself watching this movie again and again every so often now that I finally discovered it in 2024.
Oh, we should talk about the gang that he kills. Jesus.
Well, they had it coming, so
Oh, what a great bunch of actors.
yes.
The
Tim
first
is that
murder.
the first guy?
Yep, Tintin, played by Lawrence Mason. A lot of people will look at him and be like, "Oh, that's you. You know him from two places if you're from the '90s. He's either Tintin from The Crow or Lord Nikon from Hackers."
Ever seen?
That's okay. That's where. All right. Thank you. I didn't bother looking it up, but I'm like, where in God's name do I know this person? Is this killing me?
Yep.
Thank you. Hackers. That'll be a fun one to do on this show.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah. But like, he's the knife guy, and he's a nasty piece of shit, and you can tell he's just having a blast.
Everyone's having a good time in this movie, and everyone's putting in good work. Like, even we I don't know if we're gonna go beat by beat or if we're just gonna talk about
We're
it in
not at
general.
this point.
That's fine. What I love about it, everyone's doing good work while
Yeah.
still having a great time, and I just really appreciate that about this movie.
Then you got Michael Massey as Fun Boy. And like, I had never really known Michael Massey before this movie, but after this movie, he does a lot of things that I like. Like, he was in Seven and Lost Highway and the aforementioned Blacklist, and apparently in both of the Amazing Spider-Man movies with Andrew Garfield.
Okay.
Yeah, he was maybe gonna be the Green Goblin, or who knows.
He was on Fringe. He was on CSI. Like, he's done a lot of stuff after The Crow. But unfortunately, he did pass away in 2016. And he had never watched this movie because of what happened.
Wow.
Just
Wow.
fair.
It is, but at the same time, he did really good work in it. Like, really, really good. And I don't want him to be remembered in history as that his only thing. Like, he was amazing in this movie. He's done great work everywhere else he's been in. And, big props to you, Michael Massey, if you're listening out there in some afterlife.
He's on the hotline.
Yep. Then you got Angel David playing Skank, who I hated as a character.
Yeah, you're supposed to, though.
No, like, I was annoyed by him. And then I think one of the best, like, just the low gang members was David Patrick Kelly as T-Bird.
I love the way he kills him.
Oh, he's done so much great things. Like, he's been in a lot of things also. Like, he was in Succession, Flags of Our Fathers, Twin Peaks, Last Man Standing. He's been in a lot of things. He was in John Wick 2, which is fun.
Okay.
Also in Blacklist. That's fun. But he's done a lot of things, and he's just really gross here. But you get the feeling that some of the people may have enjoyed murdering Eric and Shelley more than others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't
for sure.
think T-Bird was one of them. T-Bird was just there for business. Fun Boy had fun.
I mean, he does.
Fun boy, yeah.
Yeah. And just the way that he kills them all. Like, Tim is killed with knives. T-Bird is strapped to a car and blown up as the car goes off a pier.
Oh,
I
so
loved
good.
it.
And again, just to kind of talk about how good the actors. There's a lot of really good work here. That moment when T-Bird is getting duct taped to the seat of his vehicle, about to be just for good measure, a grenade in his crotch to send him into the everlasting ever after. Him going over and over again, and I think the line is like, "You can't come back. You can't come back."
Yeah.
That is some really good acting. That's a really great acting moment because he looks genuinely terrified. This character who's unflappable and evil and crazy and all the rest of it, having this moment of his brain rebelling against the idea that this person they murdered a year ago is now back from the dead, and just not being able to compute that because that's not supposed to happen. I thought it really touched me. I was like, wow, this is actually really, and I'm actually really feeling for this maniac now, who I'm not supposed to be feeling for, obviously, but it's just some really good work. And yeah, it's one of those examples of really good actors doing excellent work and having a lot of fun while doing it.
Yeah, that line, that entire line, is just the delivery is just like, I knew you, but you ain't you. You can't be you. We put you through the window. There ain't no coming back. This is the really real world. There ain't no coming back. And he just keeps saying that. You can see him losing his mind as he realizes.
I was surprised how much I liked it. I was surprised how well done a lot of the acting is in this movie.
And then you got the boss. Ooh, the boss.
Oh, I was gonna say, and then Brandon Lee sets a symbol on fire that looks like the crow, and it also, they used that later for the Daredevil movie.
Yep, but the crow did it first and did it better. And yes, in case you were wondering, if you use the right lighter fluid, you absolutely can do an outline of the crow and light it on fire with a Zippo.
Yeah, but
don't ask me how I know.
I was just going to say, I mean, statute limitations perhaps that has expired. Maybe we can dive into that a little bit. But I did not know that.
The difference between this and Daredevil, though, is that he immediately does it, as opposed to Daredevil, Ben Affleck's character leaves it there overnight, and then the detective or the reporter magically knows it's there, and it shouldn't combust on fire after like 8 hours of nighttime.
I thought you were going to say one of these is a good movie and one of them isn't. So,
well,
that too.
I like Daredevil.
Not a good movie.
I don't remember how I felt about it when we watched it for the show. I honestly don't.
I don't either.
My opinion.
I don't think it was good.
Tell you something about it.
Yeah, it was forgettable. Which this movie isn't actually
no.
And I was surprised. Like the way just a lot of the things in this movie surprised me, but how entertained I was, and the way that they do all the flashbacks as he goes up to the people that killed him, and he relives, he sees their memories and everything like that. Like, it's just so well done. And he saves Darla, the girl's mother that you see throughout this movie, when he sucks the what was it supposed to be? I'm assuming heroin out of her.
Morphine.
I say morphine, but I'm like, that's heroin.
Morphine is bad for you.
I guess morphine is heroin too. So yeah, but and it's just interesting, and he changes her life, and you see the effect of it later on when that she's actually being a mother later on to this girl. And then I didn't put two and two together until later that this whole movie is all about the fact that they were going to kill Shelley because Shelley was trying to write up a complaint about a building, something to do with crime lords and taking over a building.
Tenant eviction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, it was this movie is goth RoboCop.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
It really is. That's really good.
Because at the end of the day, this is all about real estate, just like RoboCop.
I should watch RoboCop again.
I haven't seen RoboCop in a very long time. I'm okay with that.
I watch RoboCop at least once a year because it's perfect, and I like to watch perfection sometimes.
I've only seen it once.
Oh, that's why we should all be watching The Crow more often then.
Because when he does that to Darla, I thought he was going to kill Darla or do something, and then not just drain the drugs out of her and make her, be able to get away from that. I thought that was a cool thing. So, you have the pawn store guy where he's like, you have all these rings are from people that were, victims, and he thought, oh, I love when he lights that place on fire. It's like, you smell gasoline. Love that scene. There's
also, Ken probably knows more than what I'm talking about. There's a lot of cut content from the movie, and it had to do with a character called the Skull Cowboy. And so he's only supposed to take revenge on people he needs to take revenge on. And that's why I always kind of noticing whenever stuff gets cut, but they have to keep it in the movie because it wouldn't make sense to refilm everything. So whenever he heals the mom, she ends up cutting him up on the wrist and the back. And that's why he's got his midsection and his arms are wrapped in duct tape, black duct tape.
Oh, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, but they said it cut too much trying to explain it. It didn't feel right, and it made the movie flow in a weird way, because that was also supposed to explain as to why he was weak during the whole final fight, because what was it?
Top Dollar
he finished
didn't actually kill it.
Top Dollar didn't actually kill his wife, but then they had that last scene where he's like, oh yeah, the guys went over there on my orders, and now I feel bad, and that's why he's able to kill him at the end of the movie, is because he regains his strength from it still being a revenge thing.
Okay.
Yep.
I thought it had to do because I know they shoot the crow near that point too. I thought it had a little bit to do with that the crow was injured, so that took away some of his powers too.
That is what they left in the movie so that everything would make sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which it works. It's fine.
It's great. I liked it.
I did too. Now I like how he's about to, after he kills T-Bird, I think, or no, kills the other guy, Skank, and he's about to give away his powers. You know, you see him go back to the gravestone, you see him, and then all of a sudden he hears the girl needs help, and then the movie continues. And man, Tony Todd is one of those actors that I can recognize him immediately from that voice. As soon as I heard the voice, I'm like, yeah, Tony Todd.
Yeah, he looks so strange with facial hair.
Well, I'm used to Klingon Tony Todd, so.
Yeah, see, I'm used to Candyman and, Bloodworth from the Final Destination movies and no facial hair. Like, it's so weird to me to see it, but you're right. Because one of the first lines that he has in here is just the word boom. And you're like, oh shit, that's Candyman.
Because at one point he was talking, my wife was watching her phone because she was bored with this movie. And I'm like, don't you recognize that voice? She's like, who? And I'm like, Tony Todd. I'm like, you met him. I'm like, and then
our buddy, our pal.
He was actually really nice to her when she did meet him too. She got a picture.
Longtime friend of the show, Tony Todd.
I wish. I didn't meet him, unfortunately. When she went and met him and got her picture taken with him, I was going to go meet David Yost, the Blue Ranger. So I did not meet Tony Todd.
Priorities.
Well, consider I stood in line for 2 hours for Ashley Eckstein for the voice of Ahsoka. I didn't have time.
I want to talk about Michael Wincott and Biling in this movie.
Is that Top Dollar?
Top Dollar and his sister.
Yeah, that was a little like,
Strange.
why? That's his sister.
Well, it's just weird. Her name is Micah, like the stone. And like they're both just creepy. They
Well,
are
he doesn't help the
not
part that she's sleeping with him. So,
like that. Top Dollar is not like that in the comic book. Top Dollar is literally just a member of T-Bird's gang, and he's the first to die. So giving them a big boss, I like it. And I like that it's Michael Wincott because he was so great as the guy of Gisborne in the Disney Three Musketeers movie. No.
I don't know. You're
Guy of Gisborne was Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Okay.
I'm sorry. But yeah, he was Roquefort in the Three Musketeers. He was also in Nope, Ghost in the Shell. Like, he's done a ton of things. He was the voice for Death in Darksiders 2. We like video games.
Decent game. It loves the rule of 3, though. If you ever thought a game would love the rule of 3 more, you haven't played Darksiders 2 yet.
I love Darksiders 2.
It loves the number 3. Woo.
But he's a good, solid dude with a creepy voice, and he's great in this role. I love his outfits. Like, he looks like a very dramatic pirate, and I am with that. It's such a good look. And Biling is creepy.
Yeah, I kind of took her as like a witch type character.
Yeah.
Because like the first time you see her, they're doing drugs and they have an eyeball in a dish for some reason.
Yep.
Like, you also, I mean, I would have been okay with it if they just would have, not had the incense. Not have them sleeping together. I would have been all right. I liked him. He really reminded me of somebody like a villain that would have been in the Highlander TV show. That's what he felt like to me.
100% fair.
I mean, well, again, he had katanas, so I'm like, I was just waiting for who wants to live forever. Play in the background when they're fighting on the roof. That's all I needed. Or, God, that fucking song, Princess of the Universe. Whew, I will never get tired of that song. And not because I never heard it until Highlander. So
great damn song.
Yes. Great damn opening to the Highlander also. Whew.
We haven't talked about the MVP of this movie yet.
Ernie Hudson?
Winston Zedmore, yep. Ernie Hudson.
I mean, yeah. So good.
I met that man once.
He holds this movie together. He is the grounding force in this movie. Like, he's a cop just doing his job. He hasn't given up on this case. Like, he knows it's still out there and he still feels bad about it. He's haunted by it. And then he literally becomes haunted by it as Eric turns to him for assistance. And he's great.
I mean, I only knew he was in this movie because when one time I met him once in my life. He came to where I was working at, and he had us printing something like his call, not a sheet for like you would have like prices and stuff. We were doing that for him, and it's like, oh, he was in The Crow, and I'm like, he was in The Crow. I'm like, I don't know what the hell this is. So that's the only reason I knew he was in The Crow. Otherwise, I would have been shocked when I saw him in this movie.
I was just pleasantly surprised. I forgot he was in this movie, and I was like, "Oh, this is great."
He does hold it together.
So nice.
And besides the first scene with him being in the building, the next scene you see with him is when he's with the girl at the hot dog stand, and he's like, "You want anything to eat?" She's like, "You buy?" And he's like, "Yep, I'm okay. I'll have a hot dog." Like, I liked it. I don't know. It's just cute to me.
He's got that fatherly vibe. Like he was there when he knew that Shelley took care of Sarah, and like he's kind of. It seems like he's almost filled that role a little bit now that Shelley and Eric are gone. Like he's kind of looking out for. They're still friendly. They still talk a year later. Like that's kind of precious.
Yeah, and it was cool to see like a cop being, nice to the people that he's supposed to be, protecting. Like it was just. I mean, you wouldn't see that in a movie in current day as much. Like so it's kind of cool to see that in the 90s.
Yeah.
Not that it doesn't happen. I mean, I've been pulled over a couple times, and the cops are irritating, pissing me off because it was like, your tabs aren't renewed. Like, yes, they are. They didn't send me the stickers. And I was very upset when I got yelled at when I told them, like, yes, they're renewed. I paid the money. Like, I just don't have the stickers. I'm waiting. And I got yelled at. And just weren't friendly cops. But I just liked it. I liked everything with him. He does a good job of holding this movie together. Like, you are right, because he's like the sane person of the movie. You have Top Dollar, who's fucking insane, all the thugs, and then you have Ernie Hudson's character's like, just trying to work in this world of craziness and do his job.
And Ernie Hudson's character, Albrecht, is a mixture of two characters from the comic, actually. Officer Albrecht was, just a white beat cop, and then there was a black police captain with the last name Hook, who hated being called Captain Hook. And both of those characters kind of became this Albrecht, which is good. Like, both of those characters do stuff that is important to have happen in the movie, but having two characters would have just gummed everything up way too much.
Yeah, it works out the way they did it.
Yeah, even the kid in here, Rochelle Davis, who plays Sarah. Normally, I hate kids in movies. Like, there is... I just always hated kids in movies.
Especially 90s movies.
Yeah, like the precocious youth just bothers me, but
I like her in this a lot.
Yeah, she's great in this.
She's just a badass punk kind of, like, that's how I took it. I liked her.
She's just somebody who's had to live with a druggie for a mom.
Yeah.
Who like partially lives in a bar and who's on her own in the streets of Detroit. So she had to become a little hard.
Yeah.
And
especially this Detroit.
It worked. It worked out well.
I also got to say the scenery of the roofs when it shows the city was surprisingly really good, and it really captured like this dark atmosphere.
Oh,
I was surprised how much
when you don't spend money on CG.
Oh. I liked it a lot. I thought it was good.
Yeah, like it's great. Like more people should do practical things. But whatever. I could sit here and talk about how practical effects are the best thing that ever happened.
They are.
How CGI is the dumbest thing in the world. But
hey, there's CGI in this movie, kind of, where they put after Brandon Lee passed away, when they put his face on the stunt double.
Yeah, and there's some other CGI that's not hard to find if you're looking for it.
No.
I didn't see any of it.
Very charming. You didn't notice the thing, Joe? All of it was just melded seamlessly for you?
Yeah, the only thing that was really jarring was the scene with his hand. That's pretty much it.
I was being completely sarcastic, actually. Joe, I was.
No. I'm being serious. I didn't notice any of the CGI in most of the movie.
That's cool.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
I didn't only know the face thing because the YouTube told me. I didn't know that.
It's funny. I keep looking for it. I'd never noticed it either. It's very well done. I never triggers for me.
Which is great. It's there, but you don't notice it. Like it should be used.
Yes, as a tool, not a crutch.
Hey, remember Blade 2 when he does all those flips in front of the lights? Never noticed that CGI either. Don't. I know that's a few years later, but woo.
But
no, yeah, I didn't catch anything. I mean, the movie looked very practical and it looked real. Besides the stuff where his hand healed, but that's fine. Like that was to me, it looked cool.
It's neat. It's of the era, and that's fine.
One thing that amused me at one point when you have this is a small scene, but it just fits Detroit. I feel like, or at least this version of Detroit, where when Skank gets hit by a car and the guy gets out, he starts beating the shit out of the guy he just hit in the car for damaging his car. Not, are you all right, man? He starts hitting him like, come on, made me laugh.
Yeah.
I like this dirty city. I like this violent Detroit that they have. Did they say it's Detroit?
It says Detroit.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't catch that until YouTube told me.
Plus, Devil's Night is a very Detroit thing.
Is it?
That I did.
Yeah.
I think it's cool that it's on Devil's Night because trying to think of what word I want to use, but isn't that supposed to be like when the day that the veil between life and death is the thinnest or something? Right?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
I believe.
So I like that idea. I thought this whole movie was going to take place in one night. I think it takes place in 2 nights.
Yeah, it's like 48 hours, I suppose.
Yeah.
Has anyone here ever been to Detroit?
No.
I played Detroit Become Human. Does that?
No.
No. I've been to Detroit. I've been to maybe, it's gonna be like 15 years now. Very long time. Not much reason to go. At least 15 years ago. It's at least at the time. I don't know if it's gotten better, but it is a very rough city. It is not the most terribly pleasant place. It could have changed. Who knows? I don't know. And you can't even like escape to Canada because the closest place in Canada is Windsor. And Windsor, Canada is just the Detroit of Canada, evidently. So it's not even like you can like, all right, let's go to Canada and go across the river. No. It's still not great. Again, this is as of 15 years ago. It could have changed. I don't know. But Detroit is, I spent a weekend in Detroit once. It was a very strange. I was in the area for work. I was working in Ann Arbor, and I spent like the week. Actually, no, was it a day? I think I just spent like a day, and I can't go into who I was spending that time with. It was a very strange story that I would take way too long to tell. Well, but
That's fine.
But it was it's a very I don't know, sad city. It's a rough city. Like it's one of those cities where, and this is not to malign cities like that. Unfortunately, people live places. I grew up right outside of Newark, New Jersey. You should not visit Newark either. Newark is not fun at all. I grew up three streets down from it. So it's one of those, you take the wrong turn down the wrong street and you could have a problem. It's as from my experience, at least 15 years ago. And again, it could have gentrified and changed. I don't know. Comment away. Tell me to visit Detroit. But
I just know that there was a guy I worked with at Sam's Club who was a kid and grew up in Detroit. And he was telling me when he was 13, he was a doorman for 2 ladies of the night. So, and this guy was been probably in the like 50s when I knew him back in mid 2000s. So that should kind of give an idea what Detroit was like at one point. So not the fact that he's working for ladies of the night, the fact that he was a guard at 13 years old. That's the part that got me. So
yeah, that's Devil's Night is pretty much been around Detroit since like the 30s and 40s.
Okay.
But by the 70s, that is when the arson started.
Oh, that's a real thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that had some more interesting to the movie. I thought that was just because the thing they talk about in this movie is that Devil's Night, the gang is doing arson. I didn't realize that's based on a real event that people do that.
Oh, yeah. People have done it for decades. Like, it's starting to die out now, finally.
Good.
But, it's very much a Detroit thing.
It's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I grew up in Milwaukee, and Milwaukee had areas that I'm guessing was how Detroit was like, because parts of Milwaukee were very industrial at one time and are not.
Oh, no.
I know Milwaukee's gotten better since I grew up there, but
even at its lowest, Milwaukee was never as.
No, I know, but that's the closest thing I can think of. Like, what? Because Ken, you're not from Milwaukee, but I know you're near the area.
I spend a lot of time in Milwaukee.
Okay.
So, I know Milwaukee pretty well.
Okay, I know you're close. I figured you did either way. I left when I was 18 and never looked back. So
yeah,
I don't like the city.
It's fair.
I really don't like that place. But yeah, like Devil's Night is very much rooted in fact, and the fact that this movie uses that to frame the actions of Top Dollar and his gang, I think is pretty clever. Same. I didn't realize the real thing. That's really cool.
It gives the story more of a realism to it, which oddly enough also helps the fantasy aspects of it feel better, at least in my opinion.
It felt like a realistic comic book movie. As weird as that sentence sounds, it felt like something that made sense and could have happened.
It is. And I firmly believe that people should talk about this in the same breath as Deadpool, because Brandon Lee, when he was cast, he was a huge fan of the comic book. And he is responsible for a lot of the things staying as close to the comic book as they were. Like, there's entire monologues lifted right from the comic book.
So I know
That's
that there's 2 more movies. Can you vouch if they're good or not, Ken?
They definitely exist. There's actually 3 movies.
Yes.
Crow City of Angels, Crow Salvation, and The Crow Wicked Prayer. I have seen all of them, and they exist.
Okay.
The fact that he's not pushing it like he's pushing me to do Hellraiser 2 at some point should give you all that you need to know. Hellraiser's like, we need to do more Hellraiser. This, he's like, they exist. And that's it. There's your answer.
Hey, Hellraiser 2, even though I don't like the Hellraiser movies, Hellraiser 1 and 2 are pretty good movies.
Yeah, go listen to the Hellraiser episode where I was unhappy.
I did.
I'm pretty sure I was unhappy.
Of the sequels, City of Angels is the best one. It's also bizarre. It's the most art house one of them. And it's cool, but it's not this. Nothing is this.
That's like asking me which one of these random knives do I want to be stabbed with. They're all equally rusty, but this one's less rusty.
It's like, how do you want to cut off your finger, Joe? Do you want to use the pliers? Do you want to put the thing in the fire first to burn it? Like,
That's a fucked up callback, Mike. You know.
Heavy rain there for people that are confused. That's what you made me think of. So, no, I mean, I can't believe that there's sequels to this movie. I never knew this movie had sequels. I mean, not really. Part of the Crow. Like, I didn't realize how big of this is.
They're not direct sequels.
2 sounds like it kind of is.
It's not. They're all completely different people. None of them are Eric Draven.
No, but it
Now-
sounds like there's a repeat character from 1 and 2.
Sarah is grown up in the second movie.
That's what I saw. I got my interest.
Yeah, and it's weird.
Okay.
Like, I haven't watched it in a long time, but I remember that's the one that I hated the least out of all of them. And I have the soundtracks for all of them. The soundtracks get progressively worse as they go on.
That's a shame.
It is. Because I will hold this movie soundtrack up as one of the best commercially released soundtracks.
I mean, so the person
It's
that
up there.
convinced
Yeah.
13 people to vote for it, yes, I would agree
Yeah.
with that.
No, there's no
and-
question. Yeah.
It's such a slice in 94.
It
Feels
really
so-
does. Yeah.
I really like movies that have just music that it's just there for different scenes, and that's just what you get. You just get the song I really like that, and I feel like that doesn't happen as much anymore. But I really like having movies do that.
No, it really doesn't. You haven't, like, I don't know, maybe it's just music not being as interesting these days, or nobody wanting to pay for the rights for
I think
licensed
that's
songs.
The more other part that they don't want to pay.
Yeah, which
Well,
is
also-
sad.
Yeah. Well, the director, Alex Proyas, we didn't really haven't talked about the director much.
No, we haven't yet.
I was going to save that.
Oh, where are you now?
Oh, yeah.
Ken, would you like to please? The floor is yours if you're prepared.
No, you already started this. I'm just going to jump in when I can.
Fair enough.
I already know what movie you're going to mention, but I look forward to hearing it.
Well, no, I didn't. I haven't seen any of his other movies. To be perfectly honest, I've not seen.
I've seen
I know. I know. Gods of Egypt is supposedly one of the worst movies ever made. As people
Golden
say.
Raspberry Awards. Oh, I see.
Is that what it is? I've heard that's been pretty terrible. I did not see iRobot. He saw it did Dark City, but he also was a music video director before. That was his main gig, was music video direction before he did this movie. So
Yep.
It's not surprising that the music in this movie works and seems very well integrated into the action, into what's going on. So it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and while this wasn't his, like, big directorial debut, this was one of the first major releases that he did. And he did follow this up with one of the best science fiction movies ever made, Dark City.
I
I've
knew you were
never
gonna
seen
mention
it. I've never seen it.
Dark City is such a treat.
Is
And-
it? All right.
It looks like it's very similar looking to this, like in terms of the set, like kind of dark, but this is more of an industrial tinged romance, where Dark City is more noir based. It's a joy. And
it's on
I
the
will-
list of potential to do for the
Thank
show.
God.
'Cause you suggested it back when I first put up the Discord to say suggest things, and it's on a list that I just too many ideas.
I think we start pushing for it now. So, hey, listeners, if you're like your Uncle Ken Sanity here and you want to hear Dark City, let us know.
Join
What's that?
Discord.
When is this coming out? This coming out in April?
No, this is coming out in a couple days.
Oh,
Perfect.
Oh, okay. I thought for some reason this was coming out
I
close.
mean, that's fair. I am
maybe
way
we can
ahead on
just-
some stuff, so some stuff we'll be recording. Hey, I recorded something last week that's coming out in May, so trust me. Yeah, no, that's why I'm trying to slow down.
I never know the timeline, but if you want to, then we could just make March like moribund March, or make it themed, and we'll just watch all like this, or we can do like I don't know. I'm trying to think of some depressing word.
Angsty April.
Angsty April. That would be perfect. I don't know if our city is angsty, but we think Angsty April would be great.
I like April.
Fantastic.
I like the idea, but I'd have to plan like way in advance or something like that. So, but I like the idea. I haven't done it. I can't do any theme really month other than Spooktober. I've had ideas, but I can never make it happen.
Ooh, depressing December.
Hey, I have enough depressing when it comes to all the Spooktober shit I record, so I don't need more. Morbid May.
Morbid May.
Look what road we're going down here. But no, I do want to see Dark City. You had iRobot is a good movie. I don't know if I like that. Well, I haven't seen iRobot in fucking years, but I remember I liked it when I saw it.
I liked
iRobot. I thought iRobot was really well directed.
There is one scene from Gods of Egypt that I like, and it's only like in reference to an object.
I haven't seen Gods of Egypt yet, but I got a funny feeling it looks good.
It looks good.
It does. I mean, it has like big actors in the poster. Like, it looks cool. Like, it had my attention until I saw that. Other things about it, like
the Gods of Egypt. This white guy and that other white guy.
I mean, it's America. We like to whitewash our things. I get it. So.
Yeah.
There's a part in the movie where I've never seen jack shit from this fucking movie. I think I walked by while like my brother-in-law was watching it, and it's like they're like talking to the king, and he's like, "Oh, I have my brother's sword. My name's on this sword, and my name's on the sword you gave my name's on the sword you gave my brother, and my brother's name's on the sword you gave me, so let's switch." And the dad's like, no, that was the point. So you all would both have a piece of each other where you go. And I'm like, that's a cute way to make knives for your kids or your things like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. But other than that, I haven't seen jack shit for that movie. I just heard it's bad.
I just know I'm curious after seeing the director that did this. I was curious. That's about as far as it went. There was no me planning anything. It was like, oh, that's curious.
Oh, man. I think I'm going to watch this.
So,
like Gods of Egypt?
Yeah.
Oh.
All right.
Okay. Anyway.
The movie rains a lot in this movie, too, which I guess was actually realistic. It was raining a lot where they were. Or snowing a lot where they were, because there was a hurricane during the filming of this movie.
Yeah, they were in North Carolina.
During the Storm of the Centuries, it was called at the time.
Yeah.
Bill, didn't you say you went to Detroit? Did it rain when you were there?
No, it was overcast and cloudy and sad. It was just very sad.
Sounds like Detroit, I think.
Cloudy with a case of sad.
So that was true then. It can't rain all the time. Nice.
It cannot rain all the time. It really can't. That would be a problem.
It's called flooding. I used to live in a basement that flooded. Oh, I hated it.
Oh, that sounds awful.
It was.
Hang on a second. Let's take we've taken a few side roads this episode already. Let's take one more. I know you used to live in a basement. This is the famous basement where you didn't have a stove, and you were literally like squatting essentially, but paying
That's
rent.
What it felt like at the time. No, hey, we had a microwave, sir, and I had a pizza turner table thing at later on. So
a pizza turner table and a microwave.
It's like a pizza. I don't know what the hell they call it, but you can put a frozen pizza on it and it cooks it.
It's called the pizzazz oven, Mike.
Hang on a second. This is not all these words are lies right now.
I didn't have a door for the bathroom. We just had a shower curtain.
Yeah. See, Michael lives in some rough situations. He's had some Detroit in his life, and I didn't realize this place flooded too. This was a basement apartment that flooded.
It flooded a couple times because the owner of the house, when she put down the patio bricks in one area, she made them completely all flat. Well, guess where the water went? Down to the ground. So yeah, we fixed it after two floods.
Thank you for telling me what a pizzazz is, Ken. I will now go buy one.
They're good.
You're welcome.
They are really good, actually. But no, it was. I mean, I was thankful to have a place to live, but it was a bad. Yeah.
I've heard stories of this apartment, and it always tickles me every time I hear it. A new layer has been.
It's called renting from family. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't family, but they were family to me at the time, and yeah, but that's what that's called. Never. Nope. Hey, when you're broke and depending on your situation, you live wherever you have to.
Listen. Yup.
Oh, it's just funny when I think back about it because, like, I mean, earlier on when I met Tiff, and I was like, wow, 10 years ago, I was living here and my life was shit. Now I'm like, everything is better. It's like, it's just weird how, or even 5 years, like how much stuff can change.
Man.
So,
Yeah,
so
look,
I
now you're
thought about
actually
what-
watching movies and paying attention to them.
Right? Amazing. Not just
Hey, I
playing
did. I watched this movie in 3 sittings because busy, but I paid attention to it. There was no snap going on, Ashley. If you can believe that, there was no snap during this movie.
And that's how you know it's good, audience.
If you can put down snap. Well, I was taking notes. That's why there was no snap, to be honest. So, but the movie was good. Okay, I take that back. Blair Witch, I was taking notes and Marvel Snap because I was so bored. So, yes.
Blair Witch is pretty boring. That's fair.
Yes, it is.
Check out that episode.
All of you.
I was very upset. I do want to talk about something like, because we talk about most things in the movie, but like I do like the shootouts when he fights all the guys at the table near the end.
Oh, yeah.
That is such a good scene where he's like, I just want to kill one guy, and he just kills everybody to get there.
Yep. He just wanted to kill Skank. That's all he wanted to do. And he even said it.
Yeah.
Just him. All of you are fine. I just want him.
So well done. You just watch him just getting filled with bullets, but it doesn't affect him because he's undead, essentially.
Yeah.
So
I know it also sounds really goofy, but like it's a thing of like, what is it, like the train of thought of like how you think stuff is badass. I saw that scene and immediately went, this reminds me of that scene from Red Hood where he tells everyone he's their boss now and they better listen to him. And I'm like, that's why I'm like this. That makes a lot more sense now. Thank you, The Crow.
There's some really good action scenes in this movie. That's one of them. That freaking fight on the roof, the end fight, that was really well done. And like, I love the fact that he beats the villain by giving him the pain that he went through after he was thrown out the window, and then that makes the guy fall off and get what's the word I want here?
Oh no,
Die.
It was worse than that, Mike. It
What
was
was
the
it?
pain that Shelley went through for 36 hours that Albrecht was there for.
Oh, okay. Oh, when she was having surgery and everything.
Yeah, when she was like
Okay.
dying and Albrecht was waiting for her, like all that pain he had from. when he,
Okay, I didn't catch that. Okay, that's even better.
yeah, did the mind meld with Albrecht, and then he just gives it back to him. Be like, "Fuck you! I don't want this. You take it," and then he dies.
That was good.
And how much of a hot topic way is it to go? To fall off a roof and get impaled on the sharp horns of a gargoyle?
So dope. So good.
Oh,
I mean,
good.
wonderful. That's so fun and good. And I think his face is all screwed up too, because he's not only is he injecting the memories, but he's injecting the pain of all those 30 hours of pain in one moment is kind of the idea. I think it actually like screws his face up a little bit. It's really very effective and very fun.
Well done.
And he's bleeding out of the mouth of the gargoyle, so it's even better.
Oh, of course, because it's a gargoyle. It's a gargoyle that's also a water vent, and that's a water pipe or whatever you want to call it.
And it looked like it was practical effects too.
Sure, it was.
And then the part before that, he took out a knife and he says, that puts a smile on my face.
So, okay, I suppose we should probably talk about how you seem to think that this is the most Joker-ass movie since the Joker.
Oh, I've never seen the Joker, but this hit the Brandon Lee's performance of the Crow, which is before, is very much reminiscent of like the Joker from Dark Knight Rises. Turns. Whatever.
Without the goofy voice, but he's definitely having fun with it.
Yeah,
Like
but
he's enjoying his revenge. Ooh, wouldn't that be fun if the Joker actually was a crow?
I'd watch that.
Makeup's even similar.
I like the makeup. I like how they always are insulting him about the makeup too. I thought that was good.
Mhm. Oh, we didn't talk about the best line in the movie.
What?
After Albrecht runs into him outside the pawn shop, and he's like, "Oh, great. Guy looks like a mime from hell, and you lost him out in the open." Well, at least he didn't do that walking against the wind shit. I hate that.
That was a good line.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good. I remember watching that in the theater, and it was like me and 2 people in the theater, but we all laughed.
I actually saw when I was Googling stuff for this movie before we recorded, it actually was playing near me in an Alamo Draft House somewhere. This was like randomly one night. I'm like, oh, this would have been cool to see in theaters.
I'd go see it. For
It
sure.
was great. I know we're kind of wrapping up here, so I feel like
Yes.
I do have to mention that The Crow is getting a 4K release for its 30th anniversary. I
Yay.
already have my pre-order in for the Steelbook. It looks great.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yep.
But will you get it in time? Because I know the Hellraiser one you didn't get for a bit.
Well, that was coming from England, so
Oh, okay.
This one's coming from Amazon.
Oh, then you'll get it very quickly.
Yeah. I get 1 day shipping because I live so close to an Amazon distribution place.
Oh, I think I do too. I get really good shipping with Amazon. I love Amazon.
I don't, but they
That's
had
fair.
the best looking steelbook. Everybody else is like the other cases were and then the other steelbook I found looked kind of hacky. The Amazon steelbook looked the best, in my opinion. That's the only reason I bought it from Amazon.
One thing that I really like as a back feature movie too, or back movie, backstage, whatever you call it, back behind the scenes. There we go. Is apparently they said they had Brandon Lee put on the makeup before he went to bed, and then woke up to shoot the next day because they liked it more whenever he put it on himself, and then he like wore it for a while. Because apparently they tried to put it on before like the scene started, and it looked too caked on. It made it look weird.
That's cool.
I actually noticed that. I actually noticed that watching it. I was like, I feel like the paint, the makeup is actually not wearing away, but yeah, maybe wearing away as the movie goes on. So like that sounds intentional. That's really cool. It really, for me, gave a sense of time and space. Like it was like wearing away as he was going on his journey of vengeance. Yeah.
More importantly, it looked like he was wearing actual makeup that he would have in the apartment.
Yeah. Yep.
Rather than, fancy theatrical movie makeup.
Yeah, it was just really just, the white, paint. And yeah, it was really very well done. And again, it lends itself to this movie being this beautiful marriage of something very grounded in something that feels very real, and this comic book idea of a person coming back to life with thanks to a crow, like going on this vengeance spree. It's things like that I think that really made this movie work, because again, they had to do so much with relatively so little, so they had to, hey, let's leave the makeup on. Why not? We're going to take those kind of risks. And I think that's why I really appreciate this movie on a different level this time around than I did probably in previous viewings.
If there's any justice, anybody listening to the show will go out and watch this movie if you haven't seen it in a while, or watch it for the first time and just enjoy it.
It's also streaming on a lot of different things currently.
I know it's on Prime.
It's on Paramount. That's how I watched it. Like,
Same.
It was nice. It wasn't just like hidden, because there's some stuff I tried to. It's weird. There's so much stuff published by WB that I just can't find anywhere, and I pay for Max. It's so weird how that happens now.
It is funny that it was on Paramount, because Paramount wasn't going to release it, and they ended up selling the rights to Miramax.
Okay, that is kind of funny. Yeah, just on Paramount's decent. Max is garbage right now because fucking.
Well, Warner Brothers is garbage, but
yeah, they need to get rid of that CEO. So that's what they need to do.
Yeah.
When they're when your idea to make money is we're just gonna can all the projects that we started so we can just make tax breaks. That's not a good idea. So shitty idea. Fucking WB. But all right, any last things to say about this movie, or should we go on to Shelf Stacker Box?
I think I got everything I needed to say out of the way.
So same here.
Good too.
Okay. Let's go to Shelf Stacker Box. And Joe, what about you?
It's pretty much going on the shelf. I haven't seen this movie in forever, and I want to say it's like, besides me watching it as a kid, I remember a lot of like people when I was in high school. A lot of my friend group was like, "Oh yeah, have you seen The Crow?" And I was just kind of like, "Yeah, I remember The Crow. It's whatever." Rewatching it now, I watch it and be like, "Oh, this is why I'm the way that I am. I am all of me." So I liked it a lot, and I watched it by myself because everyone worked all night this week or had something to do, and then I watched it again so I can recap it. But I think I might, watch it again at some point, because I need something to watch with my roommate every like Tuesday or Wednesday. So I'll probably watch this again at some point this week.
It's worth it. It's a decent film. And what about you, Bill?
I'm going to put this on the shelf as well. I was very surprised how much I liked it. Walking into this, if you had asked me what I thought of it, I would have probably been like, yeah, this is a Stack movie. I like The Crow. It's fine. But for some reason, I think the earnestness in which it was made and how much real, genuine care and craft was taken to make this movie really cements it as a pretty much a classic for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I could definitely see myself seeing it, just popping it on again in a few months just to kind of go through the world again. Brandon Lee was going to be a star after this. Like he was going to be a star after this. And unfortunately, the reality of what happened obviously prevented that. But it's really cool to see someone have that star-making turn and then just kind of reflect me like, yeah, dang, unfortunately, it just wasn't meant to be. But all in all, this is great. And the soundtrack is banger. It made me feel like I was 15, 16 again. just listening to Nine Inch Nails on tapes that I taped from friends off of CDs and then had the wrong labels on, so my mom didn't see it and pop it in and listen. Yes, I totally did that. Are you kidding? Of course I did. Yo, this is not Garth Brooks' latest album, Mom. This is Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson and KMFDM. Like that's what this is. So yeah, no, this is an absolute shelf for me, and I'm glad this podcast had me watch this again. It was great.
You mean you didn't want to have her you didn't want her popping the CD and like, this isn't Thunder Rolls?
My one time, I'll just tell it real quick. I borrowed The Downward Spiral from a friend of mine, and I had it, and I was listening to it so much, but I made the rookie mistake of keeping the album cover out. So my mom found the album cover, which of course has all the lyrics. So my mom was thumbed through the lyrics and of course hit upon a few salty references in Nine Inch Nails' The Downward Spiral, and I was told, return this to your friend, and if I ever see this in this house again, I'm snapping the disc in half. So what I did was I taped it, put it on tape. You know, I did dubbed it to a tape, and I labeled it something. I just made a blank tape. I don't think I had anything on it. I think I had like a star that indicated to me what it was. You know, like this foreboding piece of music. And it was just in the collection of mixtapes. I'd love to see if I still buried in my mom's basement, which is a tomb of nostalgia. But yeah, that's yes, I totally did that.
Okay, I'll go next. Two things I forgot to mention. We forgot to mention that I'm watching a movie that I want to. Is the reason why Top Dollar captures the girl is so he thinks he can take the power away from Eric Draven and get the power himself, which leads to their final conflict. And then the other part, the very ending of this movie, is when Eric Draven goes back to the tombstone after he kills them. Shelley comes to greet him in the afterlife. It's a really fitting end. Really sweet. So I'm going to put this movie on the shelf. I came into it with no expectations. I'm like, all right, we'll see what we think. And I've really had a good time. I've actually been watching it while I've been recording and enjoying it again. Like, it's just a good movie. And kind of bummed it took me 3 years to watch it finally. Like, I'm surprised. But I'm glad I saw it. So, go on the shelf. And what about you, Mr. Ken?
I can quote this movie from memory. It's on the shelf.
Not that surprised. This movie does really fit the 90s goth. And I love that. Sandman is like what? Well, Sandman's 80s, 90s. I mean, same. Sandman's another one of those things that really like hits that.
Like this and Sandman and Edward Scissorhands, like the early Tim Burton stuff. Like they're all very much rooted in that late 80s, early 90s goth aesthetic, and it's something that Hot Topic used to specialize in, but not anymore because they suck now.
Hey, I go to Hot Topic every time I'm at the mall, and I usually buy something there. It just comes in a little square box.
Pops, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the story, kids. Hot Topic used to look like a goddamn dungeon.
Yeah, it did.
And you could actually buy cool things there. There weren't Machine Gun Kelly shirts. There were shirts for The Crow and Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson. And there was a bunch of piercing jewelry and things that your parents would be terrified of. And it was a great store. Now it's gone.
Many a chain wallet was purchased from Hot Topic.
I got my chain wallet from there.
Many a compilation CD of music. The $5 comps were purchased.
They used to sell CDs?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I used to go and get. They used to have lots of great. I used to get all my Punkaramas, all those. I used to get all the Hellcat record compilations from there. Yeah, totally. And they were like $3, and you get 25 songs, 20 of which were terrible, but 5 were good. Hey, not a bad pull rate.
I never went into Hot Topic when I was younger because I was like, I can't go in there.
Lots of Hot Topic. And Nightmare Before Christmas stuff before Target made a section out of it. Yeah. It was actually cool to be a fan. It was actually used to be really cool to be a fan of Nightmare Before Christmas. That was a real underground thing, to have a Jack Skellington shirt. Not anymore.
No, that what started it, I think. And everybody started going there for the Nightmare Before Christmas merch. I think that turned the corner. But
it died for a while, and then it came back.
Yeah, we're not here to do a moratorium on Hot Topic as much as I
can, though. I mean, this is the end of the show, and it definitely ties in. I mean, we can do a memorial.
Actually, awesome. It does, because I bought a thermal from Hot Topic back when it was the dungeon, and it had the logo for The Crow on it, and I still have that thermal shirt.
Nice.
I still wear that thermal shirt.
There are Crow Funko Pops too, by the way.
Oh, I know.
Oh shit! Really?
There's there's a couple. So the only way I would buy one is if the creator was going to be at a convention that I was going to, then I could see myself doing it.
I wouldn't do that. He doesn't really have the best feelings about this movie.
Oh,
As usual.
Like all the money he got from this, like he loved the movie, but he's so upset about Brandon Lee's death. Most of the money he had, he gave to charity
okay.
Yeah.
and didn't tell anybody about it till like years later.
Makes sense. I mean, it's got to be so hard because you feel like it's part of your fault for this guy's death that shouldn't have happened.
Well, like he had met Brandon Lee and was like, yeah, I don't know. He saw Big Showdown in Little Tokyo. He was like, I don't know if this guy's right. But then he actually met him and they became friends. And he was like, oh yeah, no, he is Eric Draven. And like they worked together on this movie. And then to have Brandon Lee pass in that way, like I could see that ruining this movie for you forever.
Yeah.
And
and this movie's so like that's all I knew about this movie beforehand was the fact that the actor died.
And the comic book came from a death too. Edward O'Barr's fiance died in a car wreck, and this was him coping with that. So
I get it.
It makes the movie all the more tragic.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I get that though. Like when something bad happens to you and you go into your art because that's that makes some great art doing that too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So very happy to end this on a happy, upbeat note.
You did.
As always.
Hey, I can end it on a happy, upbeat. I was thinking, so I'm rewatching this movie. Did you notice that when Ernie Hudson first shows up at the church, did you know how many guns he's holding, Ken?
I did not. Oh, fuck.
He's got 2 guns, bitch.
Son of a bitch.
And so did Top Dollar. He had 2 guns also. So.
Yeah. Damn it.
So, all right.
Walked right into that one.
Hey, you did. I wasn't going to do it. I'm like, oh, we're on a sad note. You're like, we don't want to. And then you made that comment. I was like, all right, you open the door and I will jump in. And Bill, where can people find you at?
Well, do you know what's not sad? Final Fantasy. Oh, well, actually.
Well, some.
Well, depends. My podcast also sometimes gets sad. So you know what? You're just doomed to a life of misery if you listen to A Gamer Looks at 40. It is returning on March 4th. Yep, March 4th is the triumphant return. So a week from Monday. Damn, I'm probably finished the first episode. Little Billy, I got some work to do.
Talk sometime.
Yeah, plenty of time. Over the last 2 months since the first of the year, I've conducted 22 interviews.
Damn.
And most of that is for just the first few episodes of this series on Final Fantasy I'm embarking on. If you like Final Fantasy, seriously, this is where you got to be for the next 3 or 4 months. If you don't like Final Fantasy, well, Mike Albertin does nothing but podcasts constantly. Listen to this show or others.
There's a few Final Fantasy, but not a lot.
Yeah, but there's also going to be Tales from the Bargain Bin returning and some other stuff in there as well. There's a couple of really cool episodes of Final Fantasy related stuff I'm looking forward to sharing, and I'm not announcing just yet. But anyway, gamerlooksit40.com. I have a website now. Makes it so easy.
Whoa.
Nice.
I know, yes, a modern website. It looks
I'm too cheap for that.
It looks like garbage. I have no idea what I'm doing with the stupid thing. It's like basically podcast template number 5, and I just put things in there. But the best part about it is there's a section for the full series. There's playlist of the full series. So if you want to listen to the entire Zelda series or you want to listen to the entire Earthbound series, you now go to one place and just get that playlist. So you don't have to roam around and root through 100 or so episodes on your pod player. So a gamer looks at 40.com.
Hey, your website looks cool, sir. I'm looking at it right now.
Fine.
So.
I
mean, hey, it's something. You have a website. I mean, I have Podbean that hosts it, and I get a website through them, but it's not mine. I don't want to build one, so there's that. Too unknown and don't want to learn how to do it. So, all right. If you enjoyed this episode, there are over 600 other, well, maybe not yet, 550 other episodes of this podcast. You can find everything we do on Podbean. Go in and search. Type in random shit. You never know what you might find. Type in The Thing. You'll find an episode. Some other random shit we've done. Blade Runner. You'll find both of those. Great freaking movies. So go type in those. We do video games, movies, comics, whatever the hell people convince me to talk about or I convince people to talk about. So check out our giant catalog. If you want to support the show, we do a Patreon, like where this episode came from. So those dollars you can vote in our Patreon poll. We have one or two every month, so you get to affect the show. And you want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Elena at Hell Has Free. Follow her on TikTok, Instagram, Twitch. You'll see a link in the show notes to her link tree. Also, check out Nintendo Main Podcast, Nomads of Fantasy, and please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, YouTube, TikTok. So that's where you can find us. I think that's everything I need to say, so we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
So long.